Hey guys, Ryan Moffat here with Addiction Hope, and tonight in the vlog I'd like to ask the question about marijuana. And I want to pose it this way: marijuana, medical gift or gateway to trouble? And I can tell you, as a pastor working with mostly students for a lot of years, it was amazing how many conversations I had with high school students, with college students, with young adults about this very issue. And back when, 10 years ago, it wasn't a question so much of, is it right or wrong? Because at that time it was illegal. But it was, if it's legalized one day, which now it is in several states, what do we do with that? And where does marijuana fit into our theological scope of what's good and what's right? And I want to answer this question in two primary ways, okay? And so the first way I'd like to answer that question is by asking the question right back: just because something is legal, does that make it good, right, or acceptable? Does it make it beneficial, if you will? It's legal for me to have an affair, leave my 4 children, abandon my church, take off. That's legal. That doesn't make it good, nor does it make it right. It's illegal for me to eat donuts every day, all day, every meal. But no one would argue, no nutritionist would come in and say, yeah, that's good. And the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 takes on this idea that the Corinthians have. And they're going around telling Paul, all things are lawful for me. I can do whatever I want. And Paul combats that kind of thinking by saying, yes, all things are lawful, sure. But that doesn't mean all things are beneficial. And so if you're thinking about, is marijuana a good recreational drug use? Is that a good thing to do with my spare time, to relax my mind, to chill out? Just because you can do it in certain state doesn't mean you should. He goes on to say that all things are lawful for me. He says, but I won't be mastered by anything. And so the Apostle Paul says, if there's something actually so deeply inherently powerful in some sort of addiction, whether it's marijuana, whether it's sugar, whether it's donuts, Paul says, I will not let that have mastery over me, because anything that's going to master you will actually become a threat to your health. And so I would not just simply say, well, it's legal, therefore it's good. That's the first way I'd answer that question. The second way I want to answer that question is, is marijuana a medicinal gift or is it a gateway to trouble? I want you to do this. I want you to test your belief, test your answer. And I don't mean, let's say if you answer the question, yeah, it's a medicinal thing. So I would not tell you, okay, go test that theory. That's not what I mean when I say test your belief. Here's what I mean by test your belief. Would you tell your kids and your great-grandkids, whatever your view of marijuana is, would you tell them, follow me in the example I'm laying out for you? Because listen, I tell you right now that some people, theoretically they say, oh, it's medicinal marijuana, recreational marijuana. It's totally good. It's totally healthy. It's totally helpful. And then I'll ask them, well, would you want your kids to do this one day? And they'll kind of stutter, right? Like, well, I don't know if I'd say I want them to do it. I might be going too far, but I wouldn't be mad at them. I wouldn't judge them, yada, yada, yada. But what they're saying is, I would never want my kids to do this. I would not condone my kids doing this. I would never recommend my kids starting this. And so test your theory. If your behavior was alive and well 1 generation, 2 generations, 3 generations beyond you, would you think that's a good thing, or would you think that's a bad thing? And if you think it's a bad thing, I can tell you this, that your kids and grandkids will not so much listen to what you say, they will emulate what you do. And so, friends, I'm going to challenge you right now that the marijuana thing that's going on all over our country right now, just because it's legal and just because you can, doesn't mean you should. May you think deeply about these things. May you apply the things that you've learned. Have a great night. See ya.